if Isabella is the one who
helped her get free.
Helped her be free from her vampirism.
I'm hearing a lot of weird noises.
No, I'm hearing them too.
I don't know if they're picking up on the camera, but I just heard something weird over there. Okay.
So Helen, is Isabella the reason why you're no longer a vampire? Oh my gosh. Alright, that's stopping on why. I mean,
yeah, that's
so
fine.
You know that's,
yeah, that has to be it.
So yes, Isabella did help her. She was probably maybe she appeared to somebody's.
See, that's making me think of so many more questions that I want to ask Isabella.
She could have appeared to someone's dreams to tell them, hey, give them the only way to free.
Or she could have appeared as Helen to trigger that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes me want to ask.
Well, but for the ritual they did though to work exactly, I'm sure they had to influence something. How else would they know to chop off the head, dismember her, and bury her in the unmarked crossroads?
Well, see, that's the thing.
I mean, that's specific.
That is very specific, and that's the thing. Because if you look up the vampire lore, okay, so as we were just talking about, we were discussing how the ritual that the townspeople did was very specific as far as digging up Helen, dismembering her, including decapitation, and burying her in an unmarked grave at a crossroads. In the actual vampire lore, if you look it up, what they actually did was they would dig up the person or the corpse, see if the skin and stuff still looked healthy rather than putrefied and decomposing, and that would be like pretty much the major sign that would.
And it said that she showed the signs of it, so when they dug her up, she must have not been very desiccated.
Exactly, she must have looked fresh. So what they actually would used to do though would only be decapitation, or as well as cut the heart out and burn the heart. It all had to do with the heart, really.
Yeah.
Because in that time, people believed that the heart was the seat of the soul, which I still believe to this day. But that's like more of an old world belief, that your heart was the seat of your soul. So thinking that the spirit was trapped in the corpse, they would cut the heart out and either, cut it up or stick a stake in it or burn it. That was like the main ritual that they would do to get rid of the body, or to get rid of the vampire spirit, as well as decapitation. But with Helen, it's very clear and documented that they cut off her head, her limbs, and then buried her body in an unmarked grave at a crossroads. And I think that is the more magical aspect.
That was one of the more key elements of freeing her from that plane, probably, of existence.
Because crossroads are very magical. Crossroads are very much tied into magic practices altogether, and they're connected to Hecate.
And physical magic, which...
I'm wondering if it seems like what happened is Isabel's spirit somehow put it across to the townspeople to do this. And it's different than how they normally dealt with vampires.
And how Helen just said that it was Isabel who aided in that. We asked her specifically if she had aided in helping Helen from staying a vampire after her death.
So I'm thinking that mainly the fact of being buried at a crossroads is what broke the spell that was making her a vampire. I think that's the main thing. The main magical aspect to it, at least, with Isabel helping break the spell.
To release that physical magic from her being... Yeah.
And the crossroads is a portal, and that's why it's used in magic.
Because what they did there, it's very like the dismemberment and the burying and the soil and all that. That's a very physical type of magical aspect.
And it's very specific, and it's very unique to other vampire situations, because they did not do that with every vampire.
And with all the lore and stuff like that, it's gonna be it's just more like that. It's just
more magical.
Well, and also that is just a lot more accurate. It's not so fanciful as other kind of stories would be. You know what I mean? It's the kind of stuff that actually makes sense.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? So
definitely.
Like how it would really be, like how you'd really have to go about a magical spell like that. I mean, that makes way more sense.
Exactly.
That would be something like that. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff here right now.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't do anything.
I just heard a knocking sound come from this table. That wasn't you?
No, I didn't touch the table.
What the fuck? Okay. Interesting. Okay. I thought I just saw that move for a minute, but I don't think it did. It's like perfectly still. It might have just been the smoke tricking me. But okay, that was interesting. And that's weird that happened, because I was about to say too, I wonder if some of this has to do with Helen being a medium. What type of medium was she? Because there's different kinds of mediums. There's mediums that only get mental communication going on, like I do, mostly. But there's mediums as well that their energy creates physical phenomenon, such as rapping and knocking, which I have developed, over the last few years. I've been developing as a physical medium, but I've always had the mental mediumship. But physical mediums are said to also be able to generate apparitions and give spirits physical bodies.
And the astral aspect of it too.
But what I'm wondering is, was Helen a physical medium? Because if people came to her to summon Isabel for vengeance, obviously Isabel was a very physical spirit, and she was able to murder child killers. You know what I mean? She had to be a very physical, strong.
She'd be able to affect the world
physically.
Physically, yes.
So Helen must have been a physical medium. That's what I was thinking, like, this whole time. But that's just very interesting to me too.
Yeah.
But that's weird that this just made a knocking sound right when I was thinking of that again.
But see, another thing is I always wondered, was Isabella the one who contacted her, or who initiated contact, or could a medium even astrally go into that world to locate them at the time?
A medium, no. If Helen was a witch, yes, she could astral project. But if she's just a medium, then no. Well, it's always the spirits coming into the medium. So, and clearly Helen said she was just a medium. So, there's no way she was astral projecting. If she didn't claim that she was a witch, she would have said that. But plus it makes sense too, because in the story it says Isabel came to comfort her.
Yeah, it did.
After a beating from her father.
That's true.
So that has to be what it was. That's very interesting though, because.
And the whole point is that she was in that area of Isabella's most physical manifestation.
Yes.
When all that was occurring.
Yes, because Helen.
Which is only we're only about 15 miles from there.
Exactly.
That's exactly about 15 miles.
Very close by.
Not very far away.
And I checked. The San Marcos River connects to Plum Creek.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So the water that flows through our town, Plum Creek, we have a big creek that flows through our town, is directly connected to the San Marcos River. So it could make sense that their spirits could come here, because water is a portal energy.
And then all the physical spells that we've cast on this land to amplify any kind of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But water is one of the ways that spirits travel. So it would make perfect sense if they're able to come here as well. And I just barely looked that up like yesterday.
And we have that whole crystal grid here that amplifies spiritual power and manifestation and everything.
So I'm sure that that's all connected. They're able to come here. So, well, we never technically said bye to Helen, so let's just go ahead and do that real quick.
Alright.
Thank you, Helen, for communicating with us. We bid you farewell. And we ask that you leave in peace and with all love and respect from us. Thank you for communicating.
Yes.
And we wish you continued peace and hope that you will communicate with us again. So would it be?
So would it be? And I felt like her presence was like, that whole thing with her was very
peaceful.
Very calm.
Yeah, Helen felt very peaceful. Her energy was even weak moving the planchette at times. It did feel stronger at times. Like she was giving a strong no.
But the whole Genevieve part was really intense, and it felt like rigid, almost like it just felt really like a lot of what
it felt sharp to me.
Very benevolent power, like not benevolent, it's like benevolent. Yeah, it's like real like an undertone of, I could just feel like an undertone of just that anger underneath.
I definitely felt
you know what I mean? It's just, it was a weird feeling.
I was shaking a lot during the first one.
Like it wasn't a peaceful presence at all. It was way intense.
I felt a lot of chaos energy stirring beneath the surface.
You could tell.
That's what I felt. And I was sweating immensely on my hands, and I was shaking a lot. When we communicated,
feeling it and hearing the story of the vengeance and all that makes sense, because you could just feel it. You can't really explain as much as to how you just feel it in that moment of.
However, I can understand.
Oh yeah, I mean, all of that.
If I had to see myself and my daughter burned alive while hanging, I would be pretty fucking pissed off too.
And then somehow separated.
Yeah, and then separated from your daughter, never being able to see each other again.
Which really begs to answer a question of, did somebody, maybe because they were witches, maybe another witch was behind them getting caught and separated in the afterlife?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a very good one.
Because the townspeople wouldn't be able to freaking do that. I mean, there's no, the townspeople aren't going to be able to separate, with magical, so it had to be something magical for them to be separated in different planes of, or you know what I mean? Or maybe at that time of death, Genevieve's soul was more anger and vengeful of the fact, and Isabella's, maybe they crossed over in different ways to where...
Here's my thought on that. Here's my thought on that. What if Isabella is keeping herself away from her mother? Because her mother is like that. You know what I mean? What if Isabel herself is just keeping herself away from her mother because her mother is a spirit of just anger and rage and that swirling chaos energy?
Maybe because of their two state of minds at their time of death.
They're just trapped in that in some way.
Maybe Isabella was able to find that small moment of peace before she died, but Genevieve wasn't able to do that.
Maybe. At the same time, too, though, Genevieve told us she was stuck in a state of sorrow. Pretty much. If she's still feeling sorrow to this day, she's obviously stuck in a state of sorrow. Helen
said she was at peace with Isabella, so Isabella has to be at peace too in some way.
Exactly. So, also too, in the story it says that Genevieve apologized to Isabel. That's the only time they broke their composure during the entire execution proceedings. Genevieve apologized to Isabel. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting a suspicion.
Maybe Genevieve did something that compromised them.
I'm getting the suspicion that maybe Genevieve was guilty of doing some dirty black magic.
Well, the whole story with the fort.
Exactly.
And then her father.
Because that was always suspect to me too.
Because no one knew who Isabella's father really was.
He was, Genevieve's father was the explorer where her and her father both lived at Fort St. Louis, which was a French fort. And it just vanished, like the Lost Colony.
So they were more of a French descent.
And they were definitely French. And it just vanished. And they were fused, mainly the father. Because back then, women had no rights, so they didn't even really talk to women at all. unless you were the husband or the father. Women were kept out of conversations, so they probably didn't even try to talk to Genevieve. But her father refused to speak about the disappearance of Fort St. Louis, which was like another lost colony situation. And that's definitely suspect. Like, why would you not say something of how it happened, or, you know, why would you just not say anything and refuse to speak about it? That's very much suspect. So the question becomes, was Genevieve a darker witch? Did she do something to snuff out everyone that lived in that fort? Did she, like, unleash a plague or something? You know, something like that. Because when they migrated down to San Marcos...
Something for that, it would be for that many disappearances and all that, it had to be some kind of anchoring of some kind of magic or spell or power.
Because you have to think, obviously, Genevieve and her father didn't murder everyone. There's no way they'd be able to do it. An entire fort of soldiers and stuff, like, there's no way they could kill everyone without being stopped. So they didn't, like, murder them.
They could have poisoned ale supplies. They could have poisoned stuff like that. You know,
they didn't murder them, like, in a fight, is my point. Did Genevieve use some kind of dark witchcraft, herb poison or something to kill them all? Or
maybe that was a way for her to unlock a lot of power.
That's what I'm thinking too. Or did she do some kind of mass sacrifice to gain more power?
It seems like they had to have some kind of immense power to be able to be anchored this hard to the world still after all these hundreds and hundreds of years.
Long as spirits and continue to create more hauntings. Something is going on. They have a lot of power here. So that has been something I've been wondering about too.
And that's like major blood sacrifice magic right there.
Maybe Genevieve was a darker witch. Maybe she was guilty of something and she thought that coming to San Marcos would help her escape from it. But ultimately it caught up to her. And because that has to be, you know, the people who, when the Catholic Church sent the Inquisition to come here and question everything and shit, you have to think they knew about the disappearance of that fort. That has to be one of the major factors that they thought.
And when that happened, that was during the time that everything was amped up for the witch trials anyway. And so they wouldn't send inquisitors for no reason.
This happened just prior to the Salem witch trials.
So they already had people going and investigating places. And they wouldn't just be able to spare investigators to go to just anywhere for no reason. They had to have had a very good inkling that something like that was going on here.
So it comes down to that. That has been my definitely permeating thought throughout this. And now that we just communicated with Genevieve and her energy felt so dark and chaotic, that feel like it confirmed to me that she is more of that avenue, just like the legend says that she is more of a nefarious spirit. And so my theory now, because of that, is Isabel keeping herself away from her mother because of that. Did she never forgive her for getting her killed? And you have to think maybe that's why Isabel has so much power too. If she was born of Genevieve after Genevieve did that, a mass sacrifice or whatever, that could explain why Isabel also has a lot of power. And maybe she doesn't
the reason how they
like how it happened to her.
Maybe the reason how they got caught and everything. Maybe this was like in the open about. Maybe Isabella knew Genevieve had, like, they had knew that something that she did mess it up, but there was, you know, that you do about it once you get messed up, you know.
Well, yeah. Could you imagine to be born of a witch like that who did something heinous
and it's out of your hands
to gain immense power, and you're just born with that power too, and you know where it came from? Like, that would be horrible just to know. Maybe Isabel didn't even want to be a witch. You know, a lot of people become witches by choice. They're not born into it. Some of us are, but a lot of people are born and they choose to become a witch. So you have to...
I just saw that spike.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe that was Isabel confirming what I just said.
I just saw the spike right when you were saying
Maybe Isabel never wanted to be a witch, but she was born. And Also, too, you have to think about, even if she did want to be a witch, maybe she didn't want to be that kind of witch born into that kind of power.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's horrible. To know that you're a witch, but it came from that. A mass sacrifice. Like, that would be horrible.
Well, you don't know that for sure, because Genevieve could have had witch. She could have been in the witch life even before that sacrifice. Maybe that sacrifice, all that stuff happened as a result of her trying to harness more.
But it still doesn't matter, because after she did that ritual, she had that power.
Yeah, exactly.
And Genevieve conceived Isabel afterwards, so Isabel was stuck with it regardless. Yeah, even if they had natural magic before that, she still had that on her.
For her to be able to do all that, she had to have been tied into magic before anyway.
I'm sure. From France.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
From that world.
It was ancient magic over there in Europe and stuff. I'm sure she came from something. But just the fact that, you know, her mom did that ritual, I'm just going to say, like, that is what I believe right now. She must have did some kind of mass sacrifice in Fort St. Louis.
They're the only pieces that fit with everything we know now.
And I think that Isabel found out about it when she got a little older. Her mom probably started teaching her magic and then told her that. And then Isabel was like, I do not like this, but I cannot change it. And then at some point, karma caught up with Genevieve for doing what she did.
And it took everyone down.
And it took out Isabel with it. And I think that is why Genevieve broke composure and apologized to her.
The saying of the sins of our fathers, you know, pretty much. I mean, sins of the mother.
Yeah. I think that Genevieve broke composure, apologized to Isabel, because she knew it was her fault. And that's why she apologized.
That's why Isabella has peace and she doesn't, because Isabella already knew what was going on. She already made peace with the fact.
And Isabel was innocent.
Yeah.
Regardless of what she was born with, she was still innocent. So she was able to have peace. But Genevieve is stuck in this chaotic...
She has to face what she did and then how she affected her own daughter, too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's my thoughts on everything. Especially after doing this tonight, I feel like that sort of confirmed the energies. Like the feeling of the energy confirmed my thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The chaotic energy with Genevieve and the peaceful energy with Helen, who was connected to Isabel. So that's very interesting. I definitely feel like it's confirmed.
Because if Helen's connected with her, then some of Isabel's energy had been coming through with that, too.
Absolutely.
As we're huffing dragon's blood.
Yeah. They can make you huff it this time. I feel like the entire first session with Genevieve, she was making me and Helen.
Bitch.
Fucking evil bitch, exactly.
She's just a bitch to the end.
Put this on the Ouija board so it, like, has that portal. Should I move this onto the Ouija board too? Just to, like, give it more, like, you are on the portal?
Maybe so, like, something like that.
Oh, never mind.
Stick close to the phone.
The phone does affect it. Wait, is that the phone?
No. That isn't the phone.
That's just because it's on the planchette.
We can move this a little bit closer right here so that it's not so close to the phone over here. You know what I mean?
Then I have to leave this part in the video to prove to them that it's not the phone affecting it.
True.
So I guess I'll just leave that in.
I mean, because look, your phone's nowhere near it.
Alright guys, so we just showed you. The phone is nowhere near this, but it's spiking now.
It's spiking as soon as we put it on the planchette.
Ever since we moved it onto the Ouija board onto the planchette.
I mean, look at it, it's going to yellow right now. It's not even... That's crazy.
This has nothing to do with the phone. Okay? The Ouija board is clearly just a portal. But now for this session of the seance, we will be reaching out to Isabel.
Isabel.
And see what happens.